Hey guys, I'm Andrew P. Logan. I play Lucas Cutter in the upcoming project American Primeval, dropping on Netflix January 9th. And this is Young Entertainment. Hey, I'm super excited to FaceTime with you.
So excited to be FaceTiming you. Thanks for picking up.
Oh, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't I pick up?
So we here at Young Entertainment are all about masterclass moments and like learning from talent in the field, such as yourself. You're a star.
It's crazy
So
on a town. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how I've gotten to this phase. Like, it's like wild. Like, six
you
years
did
of just,
it.
yeah, 6 years of just nonstop acting training and just putting my best foot forward every day. And yeah,
I love it.
it feels good. Yeah.
We're excited to hear more about that because a lot of our questions are going to be definitely more about like the nitty-gritty side of it all and the process of it all, rather than like the more illustrious things that happen. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, first question for you, what was the audition process like for the role? We got to speak actually to Preston, who plays Devin, and he said
Awesome.
that Peter Berg had him rap for his audition. Did you have any fun stories from your audition that you like totally weren't expecting?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of crazy. We might get like a little bit like kind of real when we talk about this stuff. Because the time I was auditioning for this, like 2 weeks before I did the audition, my dad passed away.
Wow.
So yeah, so 2 weeks, like I was back, like I live in Austin, Texas right now, but I'm from a place called Heartland, Michigan, which is like right here.
Yeah.
People from Michigan will know that. Yeah. Uh, and essentially was back there for like 4 or 5 months of that, 6 months even at that point, just like taking care of my dad in like his final days and being there for my family like after he passed to make sure everyone was okay, like my mom and brother. And like I also wasn't okay. So it was kind
Yeah.
of me being there too. Yeah. We're just like I wanted to be there and like be around those people. Uh, so it was like pretty crazy because 2 weeks after my dad passed, I get this audition and I kind of told like my agents too, like, hey, I don't want to quit. Like I did
Mm.
like have some talks with my dad like in the last week he was alive. And he like kind of made me promise like I don't quit. Like I have to keep going, even like through all this. Like just keep going,
Yeah.
because he knows that if you take your foot off the pedal in this industry, you can lose so much momentum. And there's millions of actors out there that are putting their best foot forward every day. So you have to keep up with that because if you stop, yeah, everyone else is going to keep getting better, and you're going to be just stagnant at where you're at.
Right.
My dad knew that, made sure I knew that as well, and kind of like instilled that in me. And so it made me like promise him that I wasn't going to quit. And so like I think it was like a week after my dad passed, I kind of told my team like, yeah, guys, like I made this promise to my dad, like let's do this. And I started getting some auditions. Now for the first few, I didn't even do them because I was just so distraught,
Mm.
broken. I don't know what you want to call it, but I was just not okay. But then there was, yeah, American Primeval pops up in this random role for Lucas, and the audition itself was everyone asked me like what was the audition process like, and I'm not gonna lie, it was easy. Like it was
Yeah.
not like what I thought it like when you hear about like big roles and stuff like this, you hear about like studio test and producers test and you go through like 5 rounds of auditions and like you have, yeah, like I've heard some like horror stories essentially from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like how like nerve-wracking it can be. But this tape that I did, so I was back in Michigan and I did the tape in like my parents' basement, like the basement I grew up in, which is like pretty cool too.
Yeah.
And the day of the audition, like when I did it, like I submitted it with like 5 minutes before like it was due. So like if I would have waited 6 minutes before submitting that, I don't get this role, which is
Mm.
pretty wild to think about too. But essentially, I had some people in my life that like reminded me of the promise that I made,
Right.
and I went down there and I did the audition, and the audition was 2 scenes, one line apiece. That was it.
Wow.
Submitted it, didn't hear back for like 2 months. Like it was close to Christmas, and I was like repainting like my parents' house because my mom can't live in that house anymore. It's way too big.
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, just way too much for her to like take care of. I'm going off on tangents, but so I was like just painting like I was painting like the master bedroom, so my parents' bedroom, which is crazy too. And that's like when I get a text from my agent saying like, "Hey, Peter Berg wants to like have a one-on-one Zoom call with you." And like I was like, "For what role?" Because I did audition for like a few other roles in this project, but I was like, "For what role?" And she was like, "Lucas," and I was like, "The one-line audition that I did like 2 months ago. I bet he wants to have a call about that." And in that moment, that's when it hit me. Like, okay, maybe it's not a 1 or 2 line role anymore. Maybe it's a little bit more. It's like this massive
Yeah.
director wants to get on a Zoom call with you. And essentially, that Zoom call was him just being like, "Yeah, ever since I watched your audition tapes, there was something like in your eyes that was so real."
Wow.
And what it actually was, my dad being passed, and I didn't want to do the audition, and I like forced myself down there to do it. And like,
Wow.
he's like, no other actor that auditioned for this like had anything close to what you had in your eyes. And like in the moment, I wanted to be like, yeah, duh, my dad's
Right.
died a few weeks ago, but I didn't do that. I didn't want the sympathy for it. I kind of wanted the book to roll straight up, so I didn't make it known until like I got to set after I booked the role that my dad passed away. So
Wow.
like, yeah, we do like the Zoom call. He's essentially just telling me like everything that I already thought. He was like, oh yeah, since your tape, so, like I just had so many more ideas for this character, and it grew exponentially. And the one like thing he had me do was just kind of freak out, I guess. Like there's an exercise with acting called like the 1 through 10 exercise, where you start like one being really happy, and then 10, when you get to 10, you're just at rage. Like you're
Yeah.
crying, there's tears, you're screaming. And it was essentially that. So thank God I like did that exercise a lot, like in the class I was in. And so like I was just ready for that moment. And the Zoom call ends and I go back upstairs, I remember. Because he told me too. He was like, look, I love you. I'm like, you're Lucas to me, but like Netflix is still like iffy on if they want to cast you because you're not like a name actor. And they want
Oh,
someone
wow.
like more experienced. And I was like, no, it's fair. But he's like, this is my production. Don't shave or cut your hair, and we'll see what happens. And essentially after that call, I was kind of like, like, whoa, what did I just hear? Because like I've
Yeah.
known of Peter Berg like since I was like 13, 12, watching Friday Night Lights, like
Yeah.
so yeah, like and Taylor Kitsch, all that. Like I did my research to this project now. Like I was like now knowing what this project was, and I was like, well, this could be like, and it's
Major.
like
Yeah.
fading. It's coming at such a crazy time because everyone, like I kid you not, everyone in their right mind, like at my dad's like funeral visitation, they were saying like, oh, actors, they always have their big break after something traumatic happens in their life. Oh, I lost it on some people for that because like they would tell me
Mm.
that when my dad like passed away 6 feet away from me, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, how could you say that to me right now? Like that's like such a weird thing to say and bring up. But they were right,
Yeah.
which is the weirdest thing. Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, maybe I should like apologize to them. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it was I don't hear anything again for another month after that. Like it goes dead. And like, of course, I'm like an actor, it was like it's very doubtful. I don't think I got it. Like I was like working a serving job here in Austin, and like I finally like realized it was okay for me to come back to Texas. And so I drove back to Austin. And the night I was gonna go back to my serving job, I was like putting my outfit on. And as I was putting it on, I see that my phone was ringing. It was my manager. And she like answered the phone, and like there were some choice words. I'm not gonna say what those were. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
since we're in Young Entertainment Magazine, but she was like,
Right.
did you see the email you just got on your phone? And I was like, no, what? And I picked up the phone and I looked at it. Or I hung up the phone. She's like, just call me back right after you read the email. And I put the phone and I hang up the phone. I go to my email and it's basically like, yeah, we need you for 8 months in New Mexico. It's like it was like you've been booked now for 8 months. Get out here. And usually, like you want to think, like I always thought that it would be like a very happy feeling. But like
Yeah.
in regards to like everything that happened in my life, I just sat in my room for like 3 hours and just bawled my eyes out
Yeah.
because there was like one person the whole I wanted to tell, just one, and I couldn't
Oh,
tell that
right.
person. Yeah. So
He knew. He knew.
yeah, it was
He was with you that whole time.
yeah, yeah. There's just some
That's
crazy
pretty
stuff too.
awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, it
Dude,
was
I've got chills. This is insane. And it's so true. Like you always hear, everything happens at a certain time in your life and things
yeah.
happen for a reason. Like, man, that is like the definition of that. Congratulations to you. Congratulations. Like, kudos to you
Thank
for
you.
just like pushing through and like you said, putting your best foot forward, especially while you had everything going on in your life. I mean, I just can't imagine. And, I'm so glad that it worked out and that he's now able to, be with you every day and experience
Yeah,
this with you, instead of watching it from like afar, it's gotta be pretty neat, man. That's incredible.
it's insane. It's wild. Yeah, it's like an actually like crazy thing to think about. Like when I actually like really sit outside and like at nighttime, like I was looking at the stars in Austin, like
Yeah.
sitting there thinking like, yeah, it actually like it's happening. Like it's doing it. Like you
Like,
did it.
like
Like
you just ran me through a movie, you really did.
it's a crazy some events that happened. Yeah, were crazy, especially like how the project that I booked too, like how all kind
Yeah.
of like worked right into that. Like there was like
That's
multiple things like leading up to like years before like my dad passing too. There was just like my life was just kind of bad. Like I was
Yeah.
just getting punched in the face by life over and over again. And
Wow.
like the one thing I didn't stop doing, like yeah, I had bad days where I'd sit in bed, But even on those bad days where I'd be sitting in bed, I would still roll out of bed at some point for 2 hours and go to like a coffee shop and read an acting book, or go study a
Yeah.
script, or go watch some movies with actors that I look up to. And it was like always, even in those moments where I don't want to say hated life, but I was not okay, I
Yeah.
was able to like somehow get out of bed and put my best foot forward with acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
There's something there telling you like, hey, keep going.
yeah.
That's
And it
incredible.
like you'll hear me talk about my dad a lot because like with all this happening too, it does make me like remember all the lessons that he taught me. And I've thought about all this
Right.
stuff now. So it's like really interesting to like think about everything he taught me and how he raised me, and like the morals and like stuff he instilled in me to like, and like how I've like taken that now and like kind of done something very cool with it.
I
And
love
it's
that.
yeah, it was like it's I don't know, bittersweet, I guess is the word.
Totally.
Because I do miss him.
So,
Like yeah, best friend. Yeah, my whole like fire for my acting career was that, and so
wow.
yeah.
Like, so how does that work? Like you said you were serving at a job. Like, so then you just quit, like, and then you have to go to New
Yeah,
Mexico. Like, will you
that's
just
exactly
pack
what
up your
happened.
life?
Oh, I've been broke now for like 2.5 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Just because like I booked as a local hire and like I had to go out to New Mexico as a local hire, so I'm paying for my own place. Took my
Wow.
own car out there. Yeah. And so like I was paying two rents. I was like also like just sending money back to Michigan, doing all this stuff. And it was just a lot, I guess. And it was like it's like things you don't think about. Like when you think about like an acting career and like when you get your big break, that like, yeah, there is like a few years where you're waiting for your thing to happen, where you need to keep working. And like the
Right.
whole industry now looks at me like I am this like actor on the up and up, and I'm starting to go out for these roles against other actors, and they're like established actors and they have money, and that's like the biggest thing.
Mm,
So they can like keep up with their accounts all the time. They can afford all these crazy photo shoots, afford to go fly to LA, New York, Toronto to go do like press and stuff. But like I can do all that, and like that's why I'm still working like two jobs right now. Like but that's just to like afford like my team, like afford all the stuff that like I have to pay for because I know I do have to push this in some type of way if I want to like
yeah.
keep like this career going. So I'm willing to just go through the broke times now, and at some point, hopefully, it flips.
It pays off for sure. Holy moly. This is
Yeah,
like literally, you gotta have a movie about your life. This is wild. I got chills just listening to you. Um, I mean, I could talk to you all day. I'm curious, for this project in particular,
yeah.
you worked with animals for the feature. I mean, were you actually riding the horses?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like how did all of this work? And how did you, what was the process, I guess, of going through all of that? Is that preset or is it while you're on set that you have to learn all of this? Like, what was just all of that like for
Uh,
you?
so like I explained kind of like the timeline already.
Yeah.
So I get back to New or Texas in like right after New Year's, so like January 2nd or 3rd. Drove all the way down, got booked it, and then essentially they told me like we're starting to shoot in like late February, early March, but we still need you here in New Mexico in January. And that was because they had all the actors and everyone in the cast go to a thing called Cowboy Camp.
Oh,
Yeah, which is essentially like they taught us all how to become extremely experienced horseback riders. Like every day for like a
wow.
month and a half, 2 months, I was like on horseback. It's like doing a bunch of crazy stuff. Really learning like riding Western. Like I'm an extremely experienced Western style like horseback rider now, which is like a
I
crazy
love
thing.
it.
Yeah, it's
Add
like
it
a
to the
crazy thing.
resume.
Yeah, that I just have that skill now. Like it's just a casual thing. Like oh, I can get on the back of a horse and ride it very well and do like jumps and stuff off it. And like yeah, and like my character too in the show, Lucas, he's like a little bit different than everyone else. Like he has a little bit more heart. That's how I
Mm,
describe it. So he's a little bit like I don't want to say like it doesn't really show it in the show, but like I thought that he'd always be nicer to animals. So like I'm the one who's always like leading horses in the show and stuff, and
yeah.
that was yeah. I always thought that was like a massive thing about Lucas is that he has this heart and he cares about animals too. Like a lot of these other people, like the gang that I'm in the show, it's like a bunch of bounty hunters, just bad dudes, and I'm
Mm,
like the morally correct little brother of the main bad guy, who's like his conscience in his ear, is how I describe it. So
okay.
yeah, so I like took it in my own like also like being a method actor too. I was like, I'm really gonna learn how to ride. I want to like learn how to saddle up a horse, how to put like hooves on a horse, stuff like that, or horseshoes,
Yeah.
horseshoes on hooves. Do horses have hooves? I don't know.
I
Whatever.
don't know
Whatever.
how that
Whatever. Yeah.
works.
But yeah. Uh, So I like went really, really hard with just like my horseback training and like really trying to like, so when people, because I knew people would watch the show too. And if there was a horseback rider and they saw me like riding a horse or handling it the wrong way, they'll like watch it and be like, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. And like
Right.
kind of lose the authenticity for it. That's the
Mm,
word. Yeah. And like, I really don't want that to happen. I want this to be the most realistic piece from my point of view. Like, whatever I can bring to the table, I'm going to make sure I'm going to bring 150% every single day.
right.
So that was my mentality going into it. So,
Wow.
yes, they did. To answer your question, yes, I did ride a horseback a lot and dealt with animals. And it was really cool too, because there were like wolves and stuff they brought to set. Like, and so when I was at cowboy camp, I would just see these wolves that I was able to go up to and like pet, and they were
What?
massive.
I mean,
It's like big dogs, yeah. And they were like such good boys and good girls, but also
so
wolves, so a little bit
wild.
scary, yeah.
Right.
And they
It
look
was
terrifying
never.
in the show, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
that's crazy. Did you ever like, with the animals, is it what was it like filming with them? Like, is it a little tricky because I mean, obviously
Oh
they're
yeah, because
trained and everything.
we do fire like blanks from our guns in the show. So
Yeah.
yeah, with the horses, they're like quarter rounds, so it's not that loud. Like
Okay.
leave a little bit of ringing ear if you don't wear your plugs, but yeah. The horses, that was like probably the hardest part was like in scenes where my horse is staying still and I would take out a
Uh-huh.
gun and shoot or there'd be gunshots, the horses get spooked. And so they
Right.
jump naturally. So they would have to jump around and it was very hard to like kind of keep your horse still. And, like in its mark.
Interesting.
And that was like the hardest thing I didn't even take into like account of until I got to set and I was like, I have to keep my horse in its mark. I have to do that. It's like I have to
Right.
like care about like this whole other being or this whole other animal now, apart from myself. Like there's all this technical stuff too with being a film actor. And
Of course.
that was like a huge technical thing that I had to like overcome and deal with. And I think I did a really well job doing it. Like my guy's on horseback majority of the thing. So yeah.
Crushed it. You're a pro. I'm curious, what did you and Jai, who plays Virgil, do
Yeah.
outside of the film to really help build that chemistry and bond that we kind of see on the screen? Did that happen outside of like while you were
Yeah.
in New Mexico on site, or did that happen kind of on set as you went through scenes?
Well, I'm a big brother myself. So
Yeah.
like I just have a little brother. His name's Cameron. Shout out Cameron. Anyway, yeah. One of my first interviews, I started giving shout outs early.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So it was really cool. My little brother always has annoyed like the heck out of me, you know? Like and like I was very excited to step into those shoes for a little bit and just essentially annoy a movie star. I thought that was like such a funny thing I could be doing. Like I
I
was like
love it.
from the first moment I met him, I was just like I know I was like also super excited just to be there being like a green actor. Uh
Yeah.
yeah, which I guess if people don't know what a green actor is, it means like it's my first ever production. Yeah, like a big
Right.
production like that. For like big role in a big production. Where I guess I matter a whole lot more than being like a very small role. And I was like super excited and I like leaned into that too, because like a little brother would lean like would be very excited and just be happy to be there. And I kind of did
Right.
that with Jai, and I would annoy him a lot, and I would like try to poke his buttons a lot on set. And for the longest time, like me being a method actor, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like make him fall into my method acting. And like
Sure.
there was at some point during the set though, or on set where it was like he was always kind of like trash talking me like a big brother, but like also like teaching me lessons like through this trash talk.
Okay.
Like yeah, he'd be like a little bit like rough with me, and maybe he would like say something to me that like a lot of people might take a certain way, but I would sit there and think about what he just told me, and he
Hmm.
would actually make a sense, and it would actually be like prepping me for some other days later down in the shoot. And it
Yeah.
was really cool for him to kind of like take me under his wing, which I definitely felt like he did too, and just like show me kind of like the ropes. And it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like insane, like having this actor I've just kind of watched like when I was growing up and going to the movies every week, like seeing him on the
Right.
movie screen, and now he's just casually this guy I get to annoy. Uh,
Yeah,
so yeah,
I was wondering, like, that was my next question. I mean, is there anything you obviously worked so closely together and like built this, sibling bond and everything. So I'm curious, like, did you perhaps learn anything from him while being on the set and like watching him every day? Was there
oh
something that you took from his acting that you started to incorporate into yours, or
yeah,
like,
maybe it wasn't like the acting part, but I guess it is too
okay,
because it does relate to acting. But it's more about just owning who I am. Like
mm,
like he was all about protecting his character. Like if like one of the ads or assistant directors wanted him to like his character to do like a walk in the background. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. My character wouldn't be walking. He's going to be posted up in the seat. And he was like teaching me like, you need to protect your character. Like you need to really think about it. And you need to like make sure everyone respects your character too.
Okay.
And that was like a thing that he was like really trying to instill in me. And like also me being like a green actor too. Like it's way different when you actually start to do the thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like you have four cameras on you. And it's like you have to like actually think about slowing down your lines. You have to think about hitting your eye lines. You have to think about hitting your marks. And it's like there is like I think there's a difference between like a great actor and a movie star. You know, I think great actors can be movie stars, and I think movie stars can be great actors. But there is like what is it like a I can't even think of the word right now. What is that word? Oh, it's gonna bug me. But there's like a way, I guess, to all this
Yeah.
stuff. Like if you like watch the best, like Al Pacino is like some guy who has like some of the best eyes in film. Like
Right.
he just looks like an animal a lot when he's acting. And like he was an actor I grew up watching, and like I like would just watch his scenes over and over again and go in the mirror and just stare at myself like late at night, like 4 in the morning, and just like try to recreate what I was seeing. And it was like, uh, yeah,
I
just
love
things
that.
like that. Yeah, just like the technical, a lot of the technical side, like really holding to it, like standing on my own 2 feet as an actor. And
Yeah.
like, because it is a lot, just like from like I'm a kid from Michigan, or kid, I'm 28 now, but I'm like a dude from Michigan who like
Right.
just had this pop up in his life. Like, and it's like, it just
Yeah.
kind of happened, it happened like very quick and very suddenly. And like, now it's like, all right, you wanted to do this,
Mm.
do it. And it's like,
Yeah.
go. Yeah. It's like, there's no one catching you now. Like, it's like, you're on your own. That's it. That's like what Jai
Yeah.
had to like, really like, he hit that home with me. And he was like, it's now or never.
Yeah.
Like, you need to, like, it's, once that camera is rolling, that's the only thing that matters. And like, while you're on set, like you said, like, make sure people have respect for you and your character. Like,
Wow.
hold your head up high. uh, Kind of teaching me how to be a leading man, I guess,
Jeez.
is what it is. So yeah,
I mean, that's pretty invaluable advice. I mean, because
yeah,
you hear those things, right? I'm sure, like, you with the acting classes, own your character, own your body, all these things. But, like, once you're throttled in and thrusted into all this whole, like, scenario and it becomes, like, real, you don't really know what that really means until it's
yeah.
it's in front of you and you're doing it.
That's what I tell people too from like my old acting classes and stuff. I'm like, yeah, all the training in the world is great. It's great because I trained a lot too. But like as soon as that you're on that set and you're in the mountains and it's
Yeah.
35 degrees out and it's night and it's snowing and there's like I said, four cameras on you, two are right in your face, and they say action, everything goes out the window.
Right.
It's all out the window at that point. All that training you've done, like you kind of forget about it. And hopefully you develop a technique that's like subconscious at that point where you can fall back on if you need to, which
Sure.
is like why I think training's so great too. It's like you do develop that. And but it does kind of go out the window. And you're just like it's you and that character and it's time to go. And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot, that's crazy. I
It is
love this.
crazy.
This is like I
Yeah.
could talk to you all
It's
day. I'm curious, is there anything like funny that happened on set? It could be with like your castmates, could be with the animals, could be just like literally just you being in the mountains. Is there anything like super memorable that you kind of had a funny
yeah.
moment?
This guy's I'm gonna take a drink of my Celsius real quick.
Go for it.
But
Shout out
yeah,
Celsius.
shout out. Yeah, but no, I just need some caffeine right now because I woke up I couldn't sleep last night because I was excited for this.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
gosh, stop.
yeah. So really, yeah, like I said, I'm really thankful that you're doing this too. Uh,
Oh my gosh, of
it
course.
feels again, it feels so good. Like I've been doing this for 6 years, 6.5 years now, and now people are finally wanting to like hear my side of the story and hear like me talk about things. And it's
Right.
a surreal feeling to finally like be on the other end of things. Like being the guy who's been on YouTube, just going through every video I can possibly find, every
Right.
podcast I can possibly watch to learn stuff. And now it's cool
Well,
to
you'll
finally
be
like
there soon.
be
Now
able to,
people
yeah.
will be watching you.
But go back to the question you asked about Buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have like one specific moment that I thought is always funny and always get some laughs when I talk about it. It's like I mentioned Jai being an older brother to me,
Yeah.
right? And like him like always being like own your character. There was one moment in the first episode where we're like at this like we're at this place Fort Bridger, which is this beautiful set they built. They spent like $10 million on this, and they recreated Fort Bridger, and it was like a real life, real scale fort. Insane. So super fun to play in that, by the way. I know it was awesome to like act in that, like, and just so easy to
Yeah.
jump into the world when they really just recreated the world around me. But we're like at props. Me and Jai are walking up to props, right? And we're like not wearing our usual jackets for this scene where we're in the fort. We don't have our jackets on as much. And
Hmm.
so like we have like our props are a little bit different because of that. And so like I go up to him when he's at like the prop table when he's like throwing some stuff on, and I walk up to him. I'm like, hey, so are you gonna have like your gun and knife on you in the scene? Like, cause I just don't know if like we're like, and there's like 20 people around us. There's like a audio guy like throwing a mic on me. There's like makeups kind of doing some touches on me. Hair's doing stuff. Just talking to some people too. And yeah, uh, I go up to him and I ask like, hey, are there like what's your guy gonna do? Like, what do you do? What's Cutter gonna like? What do you think Cutter would do for this? And he just starts
Yeah.
going on a rant, like a very loud rant to me. He starts roasting me in front of a bunch of people. And he's like, I'll leave out the swear words, but he was very much like a. I'm gonna leave out the Australian accent too because I feel like I could do it, but I don't want to do it. I don't offend Australians, but anyway, we get to the prop table, right? And there's I ask him, hey, what's your character going to do for this? Like, what props are you going to wear? And he turns to me and just starts going off like what I mentioned earlier. He was like, oh, you need to think with your own head about your character and you need to do what you want to do. I'm tired of carrying you through this production. And he's going off in front of everyone in front of me. And it's like, I'm starting to get embarrassed now. I'm like feeling like a little brother who's just getting ranted at
Yeah.
by an older brother. And I'm sitting there like, all right, okay, man, chill. Like, chill.
Yeah.
Like, I was just asking a question. You don't need to
I'm
freak
so
out on me for
sorry.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and everyone's just kind of laughing too. Like they're like laughing at it because I have like this green actor who's kind of just like in his head. This is like earlier in the shoot too, and people kind of knew I might be in my head.
Okay.
But then everyone kind of leaves, and Jai walks away. But then he comes back to me. I'm sitting at the prop table, still waiting to like, I'm still like trying to figure out what I want to do for my character, like Jai said. And he's like, "Oh, but actually, yeah, take the gun and knife." And I was like, oh, you jerk. I was like, no. And I realized what he was doing in that moment. And I was like, he's being a big brother to me and just roasting
Right.
me in front of everybody. But yeah, I thought that was hilarious just because like he came
Wow.
back and was like, yeah, actually use the knife and gun after going on like a 10-minute rant.
Well, I mean, like, how do you like get back into character after that? Like, that's like that you're probably in your own head, right? Like, as you said, I guess, like, how do you kind of just be like, oh, okay, he's just messing with me, and like, oh, okay, this is like, he's kind of helping me even.
Yeah, thankfully, like these days, it wasn't like the craziest of stuff that my character was required to do. Like I was kind
Okay.
of just, I have some lines and stuff, and I'm there, but uh, it wasn't like the hardest of the acting I would say that I had to do. So it was kind
Wild.
of easy, and like uh, I guess like him even doing that to me did kind of like make me be like, all right, cool, you know, like
Yeah.
screw this guy, kind of like, all right. And like, it was kind of like a
Right.
big brother. I felt like a little brother who was like petty almost. And like, he made me feel
Okay.
that. Then I was able to bring that into the shoot and bring that
See
into
that?
everything. So yeah, it was pretty wild. It was
Easy
pretty fun. That was
great.
just
They
a
know
really
what
funny,
they're
yeah.
doing. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
just a really funny moment right there, which I thought
Yeah.
was pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay. I've got to ask. I mean, you said you were in New Mexico for like 8 months, I think you said.
Oh,
Is
it
that
was like
right?
13 months is the actual
13.
timeline. Yeah. Because
Oh
there
my
was the
God.
strike. The strike happened in between.
Oh,
So we had to stop
right.
shooting, come back at a later date. And by that time, we're doing some reshoots too. So it was a little bit longer. So
Like
yeah,
how do you prepare for that? Like I mean, especially for a show like this. I mean, the weather is like you're there basically at different times of the year. How do you
yeah,
kind of pack up your life, make sure you have the proper like resources and
you
live
just
in
do
New
it.
Mexico?
You just do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's it. Like there's not
Did
like
the
much around
weather
that.
have an impact on your character or any like shooting days?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're in the mountains in New Mexico for 13
Right.
months, and there's blizzards, and they like canceled days so much, like at least once a week.
Okay.
Where I was supposed to be shooting and reschedule. That's another reasoning why the shoot was so long, is they kept like pushing stuff because they need like we can't really walk up the side of a mountain like in a blizzard. Everyone's gonna be falling, especially with like millions of dollars of like film equipment.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like they have to like reschedule all these shoots for like days where maybe it's not snowing as much, and yeah, a lot of stuff like that. And like regards to my character, just helped me jump into like in the
Yeah.
cold days where it's freezing. Like a lot of the actors would like be wearing layers. I would not wear my layers. Like they would be wearing like, like Jimmy Johns or something. Is that what you call them?
Sure.
What do you call those things like underneath? Yeah, they're like the
Jimmy,
warm
I call him
fits.
Jimmy John's.
Yeah. So those things, yeah. And like I chose to not use those usually. There are some days where I know
Wow.
I'd get soaked and I wore some like scuba outfits, I guess, and like just because I didn't want to get like be in freezing weather, also wet. That seems
Yeah.
awful. So, but I really wanted to actually be cold if my character was cold, and I wanted to like make sure that was known. So you will see me like blow, doing like that and stuff, and it's totally real. Like that part's real. It means
I
you're like
love that.
yeah, it
The method
sucks right now.
acting.
Yeah, I was
Method
like, it
acting.
sucks.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
mhm.
There's obviously like a lot of intense scenes in the show.
Yeah.
So, what was that kind of like to you, and how did you kind of get into that space in like a healthy manner? I know that might be a loaded question.
I don't know. I don't know if I got into like a healthy man.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I am a method actor, and this was so close. And usually with method acting, you're not supposed to do something or use something when it's so fresh, just because
Right.
it can have like a very negative effect on you. And I definitely felt that negative effect. Like I used to weigh like 170 pounds. When I was in New Mexico, I got to like 130 pounds, and that was all like
Wow.
I think it all was like perfect though, because it's got me into like being in that dark depressive state. Kind of put me in the Lucas mindset of like living in 1857 in this chaotic, just dark world. That's like in the show. That's we're in a show. Uh, and yeah, it is a very dark show, but it's very realistic to how the time period was. And
Sure.
like we do like the storytelling is so good in this production too. And it's like told in such a way that like, yes, you see all these dark, chaotic things happen that like aren't okay. But those not okay moments are the things that I was always told you have to like push through almost. And like these things are like meant uh, for like reconciliation. Like you need to get through these things because that's like how
Hmm.
you figure out who you are, and like that's how you really move forward in the world. And like these awful things happen to some of these characters in the production, but it's all for good reasons. And like it does help build your characters and helps them like helps you understand and why they are the way they are because that's like a huge question and like a huge part of the world where you might not think about like when you see someone like getting roasted online for something or something like
Right.
that is like a lot of people just don't put themselves in their shoes, which is
Yeah.
an important thing to do. I feel like in a lot of these scenarios, and especially like when I had to put myself in the Lucas shoes. And thank God it was Lucas's shoes because Lucas is like a good guy. And this he's like
Yeah.
one of the only characters I like to say who has like actually he a lot of the characters have heart, but he has like a very good heart that's like
Hmm.
untapped and innocent. Even for
Right.
like being in his 20s, it's still like very innocent. And like that's like kind of like the whole show is like seeing like this innocent like my character just kind of like go into this like deep dive of madness and darkness
Yeah.
and see what happens to him. And it's pretty cool. Uh,
I love
yeah,
that. Wow. I mean, I don't know how people can't be excited to see you, even just you in this show, let alone the show itself, with everything that you're saying. This has been fantastic. Do you have time to do like a little rapid fire segment that we usually
yeah.
like to end with?
Let's do some
Cool.
rapid fire.
What is your favorite part at Crafty or like snack at Crafty?
Oh, snack at Crafty, hot chocolate on cold days for sure,
Ooh,
100%.
I'm sure that
Yeah,
was very useful.
or like the
Uh,
squeezable apple juice. Oh, the apple juice, like the squeezing ones. Oh, that was my ish. Let me tell you. Oh yeah, like I was just like, yeah, I was
the
sucking on those
squeezy
things.
apple juice? Like
Apple juice,
the
applesauce, like the
Oh, okay,
applesauce to
okay.
goes. Yeah, I said apple juice. I feel stupid now, but
Oh my God.
applesauce.
No,
Yeah, yeah, that.
that's
Yeah,
hilarious. Child, but we still love you.
yes, I am like kind of like a child.
Um
Like I'm a child who just grew up and I'm playing make believe for a living now. It's pretty cool.
I
But
love
yeah,
it. It's amazing. What's your I think I might know this answer because your team sent us over some insight into your life. Do you have a
yeah,
favorite line, movie, or TV show that really you carry
yeah.
with you to this day?
Oh yeah, it's a Forrest Gump, hands down. Like when I was 12 years old, I went to a my like I have a godmother. I call her Aunt Carol. But my mom and Aunt Carol went out for a night. It's like a party or something when I was like 12, and like me and my cousin Chris, were kind of just sitting there watching movies, and he puts on Forrest Gump. And I kid you not, I watched that movie 4 times that night straight, like back to back to back to back. And
I love it.
yeah, instantly fell in love with just like movies after that, and just became like a movie addict. And like I was kind of like a really weird kid growing up because I didn't like go out and hang out with people. I would just sit inside, learning about the world in that type of way, like
Yeah,
using like movies and film to like kind of teach me like lessons and how the world operates. And yeah, definitely gave me a
I
sense
love
of humor.
that.
So that's cool. Yeah, we
So
love.
you would say that movie like inspired you to be an actor, or that was like just a favorite movie? Like you already wanted to be an actor from there.
That's what started all of it.
It
Like
did.
after
Wow.
that, it was like I want to do what that guy's doing. How can this guy make like how is this dude Tom Hanks making me feel these type of emotions? And
Totally.
that was it. That was the movie. And
I
every
love
like
it.
still to this day, like 1 or 2 months a year, you'll see like my background on my phone be it's like Tom Hanks sitting on the bench as Forrest Gump with his box of chocolates. That movie, yeah, still to this day, like I still watch it
Iconic.
5, 6 times a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's a song that pumps you up before a scene or even like an audition?
Oh man, there's so much different music. But I can tell you, before this interview, I was listening to a Fireman by George Strait, and
Oh,
I never used to like country, and then I moved to Texas, and like my roommate who I have now, which is Jake, he's kind of showed me a bunch of country music and like good old fashioned country music. Not like
oh
also newer
yeah.
stuff too, but like where the roots come from. Like yeah, like whenever like people like there's art with like passion attached to it, especially like old school country when like you can sit there and just cry for hours listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, super good. But like Fireman, it's just about this guy being super confident by George Strait, and that's like a
I
very
love
big
it.
pump up song. Yeah,
I love it. Well, one last question for you. Who is a celebrity that you would want to work with?
that I would want to work with. Well, I already mentioned one in Tom Hanks, but there's a few. There's like I think it'd be really cool to work with him. Andrew Garfield's another guy I look up to
Mm.
like a lot. Uh, Meryl
Similar
Streep is a
vibes,
yeah,
similar looks. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Meryl
like
Streep,
that.
Spider Man growing up was like my favorite. So
You should be
crazy.
twins. You got to play
Yeah,
twins in something.
that would be yeah.
That would be
Hopefully Andrew
sick.
watches this. Anyway, we have the same name, please. But
Right.
yeah, Andrew Garfield would be super cool. There's Meryl Streep has always just been like like kind of like an icon to me, and like Anne Hathaway, another icon as well. Uh, yeah, and director like there's like director wise too, like any of the big I think like these massive directors that you can think of. Like working with Pete was like insane. Like, it was like a
Yeah.
bucket list thing because Friday Night Lights is like my favorite sports movie of all time, and just
I
to like
love it.
jump into like a movie with him and Taylor Kitsch like was absolutely insane. Yeah,
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, congratulations. You deserve it all. I mean, seriously,
thank you.
your story is absolutely incredible. People are gonna fall in love with you, fall in love with the show, fall in love with Lucas, everything. So, we can't thank you enough for giving us your time and sharing all of these incredible stories and being so candid with us. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I have the same gratitude back towards y'all too because like I said, it's really awesome having people actually want to hear.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
it's very cool.
get used
Surreal.
to it. More
Yeah.
people are gonna want to hear from you very, very soon. I have no doubts.
I had a great call. Again, my name is Andrew P. Logan. I'm very excited for everybody to watch American Primeval when it drops on Netflix January 9th. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for Young Entertainment.